My mother's text said, Paige's grand opening tonight, 7 p.m. Come celebrate. Two exclamation marks. That's how I knew it was mandatory. I parked the Focus 2 blocks away because the street in front of the boutique was lined with cars I didn't recognize. Walked over in jeans and the jacket I wear to weekend errands. Nobody had mentioned a dress code. Nobody had mentioned a lot of things. The boutique had a name on the door, Paige Builds Things, hand-lettered in gold. Below it, in smaller font, the tagline she'd been workshopping for 6 months. Curated lifestyle goods for the intentional home. I stood outside for a second reading that. Then I went in. Ford Rainer arrived in a Ford Focus. This is either a coincidence or the universe's idea of a punchline. He has never decided which. Inside, 60 people, a photographer moving through the crowd, champagne and actual flutes, and lighting that had been thought about. My sister had spent 8 months on this. The $95,000 SBA loan and the $40,000 from our mother's retirement account were visible in every detail. The marble shelf displays, the locally sourced candles at $28 each, the dried flower arrangements that probably cost more than my first car payment. Paige had built something that looked exactly like what she'd described wanting to build. I found a spot near the back wall and took a glass of champagne from a passing tray because it seemed like the right move. Ren appeared beside me about 3 minutes later. She'd come from a shift, still had that specific tiredness that 12 hours on a hospital floor produces. She looked at the room, looked at me, looked at the room again. She did a good job, Ren said. Definitely, I said. We stood there drinking champagne and watching 60 people congratulate my sister on her dream. At 8 o'clock, my mother stepped onto the small raised platform near the back display wall. She had a glass in her hand and the expression of a woman who has been waiting for this moment for approximately 8 months and possibly longer. My mother, Beverly Rayner, 55, retired school administrator, person who sends newspaper clippings through actual mail, raised her glass and waited for the room to quiet. It quieted. I want to say a few words about my daughter, she said. She talked about Paige for 4 minutes. I know because I checked my watch when she started. She talked about the dream, about the work, about what it meant to build something real. Something with your name on the door, something you could touch. The room was with her completely. Paige was standing near the front, doing the expression of someone who is trying to look surprised by a speech they definitely knew was coming. Then my mother smiled in my direction. My Ford is doing well too, she said. He helps some company count their pennies. A small laugh from the people close enough to hear clearly. Nothing wrong with that. Somebody has to. She turned back to Paige. But this, she gestured at the room, at the marble shelves and the dried flowers and the $28 candles. This is what I always talked about. Build something real. Something you can touch. The room applauded. Meridian Auto Parts. $4.2 billion in annual revenue. Ford oversees their $4.2 million Nascar activation budget. The sponsorship agreements, the suite allocations, the quarter-by-quarter P&L on the company's entire racing presence. His mother has described this role as counting pennies to approximately 40 people over 6 years. She is, at minimum, consistent. I did not raise my glass during the toast. I want to be accurate about why. It wasn't anger, exactly. It was more like the specific tiredness that comes from being in a situation you've been in before and know exactly how it ends. The glass was in my hand. Raising it would have taken no effort. I just didn't. Ren was looking at me. I found her eyes and shook my head slightly. Not now. She gave me the small nod that means, understood, filing it, we'll discuss later. I found my mother near the front display before leaving. Paige did a beautiful job, I said. You both did. You're leaving already? She was already half-turned toward the photographer. We're doing photos in a few minutes, the whole family. Early morning, tell Paige I'm proud of her. I walked out. The drive home takes 22 minutes on a normal night. I took 34. The long way, through the commercial district, past the Meridian Regional Office building that sits on the corner of 5th and Harlow. The building I've been parking behind for 6 years. The one with the company logo on the exterior that I've never once pointed out to my mother. Ren was already home when I got there. Kettle on, which meant she'd clocked my mood from the parking lot. "You're angry," she said. "I'm fine." Ford. She said my name the way nurses say things to patients who are being uncooperative. I can tell the difference between fine and performing fine. Occupational requirement. Ford and Wren have had some version of this conversation approximately 17 times over 3 years. Wren keeps a running tally. She has not shared this with Ford because the information would not help him and would only make her seem like she's keeping score, which she is, but productively. I sat down at the kitchen table. "She doesn't know what I do," I said. "Not in any real sense." 6 years of weekly calls. She asks about Paige's boutique inventory. She sends me Instagram screenshots of Paige's posts and asks if I think the new layout is better. She forwarded me the boutique's Yelp page last month and asked me to leave a review. I stopped. She has never once asked me what I'm actually working on. Maybe if you told her? I've been waiting for her to ask. Wren looked at me for a moment. Then she poured the tea and didn't say anything else, which is one of the things I appreciate most about her. I opened my laptop. Meridian Q2P and L review, the deck I'd been building since Thursday. 400 million in quarterly operating revenue, my section highlighted in the summary tab. Ordinary Saturday night. The next morning I made the mistake of opening Instagram. At Page Builds, Things had posted 9 photos from the opening. The first one already had 43 comments. I scrolled through them the way I read financial statements, looking for the pattern under the surface numbers. The accounts commenting had no profile photos, no posts, usernames in the format of a random word followed by 4 digits. The engagement rate on 43 comments to 47,000 followers was a number I recognized from work. Not a good number. I closed the app. I work in financial operations. Pattern recognition is not something I do deliberately. It's something my brain does before I ask it to, the way a carpenter looks at a doorframe and immediately knows if it's level. The doorframe was not level. That was not my problem to address. I put the phone face down on the counter and went to make coffee. 2 months later, on a Monday morning in June, my deputy Kelsey set a folder on my desk. Nascar lifestyle campaign, she said. Marketing wants $78,000 for Q3. 5 influencers, 12 to 18,000 each. They need budget sign-off by end of week. I picked up the folder. Standard campaign brief. 4 names I didn't know. Engagement metrics that looked right. Audience demographics that matched our target. I went through them the way I go through any vendor shortlist, 1 line at a time. Position 3. I stopped. Paige Rayner. At Paige Builds Things. Ohio. 47,000 followers. Proposed rate. $16,500. I looked at that for a moment. Then I closed the folder. I called HR compliance before I called Kelsey back. The HR compliance coordinator, a woman named Dana, who has the specific patience of someone who processes awkward situations for a living, asked me to confirm the relationship. Direct sibling, I said. She's on the vendor shortlist for a campaign my team is approving. I'm recusing from her specific line item. I need it documented. I'll generate the conflict of interest form. You'll receive a confirmation email within the hour. I need the full email chain saved. Everything from today forward. A pause. That's not standard procedure. I'm requesting it anyway. She processed that. Done. You'll be copied on the documentation. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called Kelsey. The campaign shortlist, I said. Before it comes back to me for sign-off, I need all 5 candidates through a third-party metric audit. Kelsey was quiet for a moment in the specific way of someone recalibrating what they thought this conversation was going to be. 4 influencer contracts? For any vendor contract over $15,000, it's in the compliance policy from March. I don't think marketing has ever... It applies to marketing the same as it applies to anyone else. Hype Auditor or Modash, either platform works. Results back to you, not to me. My name doesn't touch the audit. Another pause. All 5? All 5. Ford introduced the $15,000 audit policy in March after 3 Q1 contracts underperformed. The post-mortems showed the same pattern each time. Follower counts that looked right, engagement rates that didn't. He wrote the policy for future contracts in general. He did not write it for Paige. She had not applied for anything at that point. The policy existed before her name appeared on any shortlist. This matters considerably more than it might seem at first. Kelsey sent the audit request that afternoon. I went back to the Q3 budget review and did not think about the campaign again. The audit results came back on July 8th. Kelsey brought them to my desk as a printed summary. Standard format, 5 rows, the platform's metrics across each column. I looked at 4 of the 5 rows and initialed my sign-off on each one. At Coast. Created, 38,000 followers, 34,200 verified real, 4.1% engagement rate. Approved. At Ridgeline.Ren, 22,000 followers, 19,800 verified real, 5.8% engagement rate. Approved. At Motorlife.K, 31,000 followers, 28,000 verified real, 3.7% engagement rate. Approved. At Sunday.Circuit, 19,000 followers, 17,500 verified real, 6.2% engagement rate. Approved. The 5th row I did not initial. Per the recusal documentation, I was not authorized to touch it. I slid the sheet back to Kelsey with 4 initials and 1 blank line. She looked at the blank line, looked at me. Marketing handles the decline communication, I said. Standard template. My name isn't on it. For context, a photo of a parking lot with decent lighting typically generates around 1.2% engagement. Paige's boutique content had been performing at 0.3%. The audit did not phrase this comparison out loud. The math did it without being asked. Kelsey sent the email 2 days later from the Marketing Partnerships inbox. Subject line: Nascar Lifestyle. Creators Campaign, Application Update. Signed, Meridian Marketing Partnerships Team. Ford Rayner's name appeared nowhere in the document. I know Paige got the email on July 10th because she posted an Instagram story that afternoon. I saw it that evening when I was scrolling for something unrelated. Black background, white text, a single rolling eye emoji at the end. Some corporate brands have no idea how to identify authentic creators. They reject real people and choose robots. Moving on, 47,000 followers saw it. Or rather, 8,900 people and 38,100 dormant accounts saw it. The 38,100 had been purchased across 3 transactions between 2021 and 2023, approximately 3 cents per account. Total investment somewhere around $114. Paige had built 2 years of brand identity and spent a significant portion of our mother's retirement savings on a business whose primary credibility signal, the follower count, had been constructed at roughly the cost of a tank of gas. Knew a corporate brand had rejected her. And she was posting about it from her phone. I watched the story once. Put the phone down. Went to make dinner. Ren looked up from the couch when I came into the kitchen. Everything okay? Fine, I said. I started making dinner. Everything's fine. She accepted this, which meant she'd already clocked something on my face and was letting it sit, which is her standard approach to information she doesn't need to act on yet. Bev called on a Tuesday, about a week after the story went up. Ford, Paige had a situation with a company. The way she said situation meant she'd been told not to say more than that. Some big brand rejected her application. She worked really hard on it. Do you know anyone in marketing anywhere? Maybe you could put in a word. I was at my desk. Q3 activation report open on the second monitor. I can't influence decisions at other companies, I said. But you know people. Words get put in for people with real numbers, Mom. A pause. What does that mean? I thought about how to answer that. Thought about it for about 3 seconds. Nothing, I said. Tell her to keep making content. Bev made a sound that meant she hadn't found that useful but was choosing not to push. Okay, I'll tell her. Another pause. She's a little discouraged. It would mean a lot if you called her. I'll think about it. I didn't call her. I thought about it the way you think about things you know you're not going to do yet. Running it through once, setting it aside, leaving it for a different version of the situation. October 3rd, I called my mother. I have 4 tickets to the NASCAR Roval in Charlotte, I said. Bank of America Roval, October 12th. It's through work. Your birthday's the following week, so I thought, you, me, Paige, and Ren. Weekend trip. Bev was quiet for a second. NASCAR? I've never really. It's a good event. You'd enjoy it. Well, all right, that sounds nice. She called Paige that evening, I assume, because Paige texted me the next morning. That's really thoughtful of you. Can't wait. What Paige told our mother, before the text, was something closer to, NASCAR is perfect for content. There'll be brands there, sponsors. Maybe this opens something up. I know this because Ren was there when Bev mentioned it 2 days later on a call. Ren has a face she makes when she's filing something away, and she made it. What Paige did not know was which company's tickets these were. What company had a suite at Charlotte Motor Speedway? What company's marketing team had sent a templated email in July with her application results at the bottom? Charlotte Motor Speedway hosts approximately 40 Fortune 500 company suites during the Roval weekend. Paige was about to walk into one of them. She was thinking about brand deals. She was thinking about the doors that had closed in July and whether October might open one of them. She had no way of knowing that the door she was looking for was the same door she'd already knocked on. It just had a different sign on it now. We drove to Charlotte on a Friday. Ren sat in the front seat and managed the playlist. Bev and Paige sat in the back. Paige spent most of I-85 researching the brands that sponsored NASCAR. I could see her phone in the rearview mirror. She was thorough. I'll give her that. The corporate hospitality entrance at Charlotte Motor Speedway has its own security checkpoint. Not the general admission line, not the club-level line. A separate door on the east side of the building with a guard who checks credentials against a printed list and then directs you to a dedicated elevator. I'd been through it 6 times over 3 seasons. I knew which button to press. Paige had never seen it before. She was still on her phone when we came through the checkpoint. I could see her switching between Instagram and something that looked like a brand contact database she'd built herself. She'd been working it the whole drive from the hotel. Ren had watched her from the front seat with the expression of someone observing a phenomenon they have no obligation to comment on. The elevator opened on the hospitality floor. 40 suites. 40 Fortune 500 company nameplates, 1 per door, running the length of the corridor in both directions. The hum of the crowd below came up through the floor even this high. I led them left towards suite number 8, which is the 3rd door from the elevator on the east side, position I know the way I know the location of my desk. I put my hand on the door handle. 1 second, I said. I stepped aside so they could see the panel. The placard was the standard corporate hospitality format. Company name in the larger font at the top, credential holder below, guest allocation at the bottom. Ours read, Meridian Auto Parts. Ford Rayner, VP Financial Operations. Guest credentials. 4. Paige stopped. She read it. Read it again. The way you read something when the first pass doesn't fully process. Next to her, my mother had gone very still. I held the door open. Come in. Inside, floor-to-ceiling glass facing the track, 50,000 people visible in the grandstands below, and the Meridian logo on car number 23, clear enough to read from where we were standing. Buffet table along the back wall. Open bar. 12 other Meridian guests already in the room, mid-conversation, nobody looking at us. Ren was already in her usual chair near the window, coffee in hand. She'd driven up separately that morning. She has her own credential from the 2 previous seasons she'd joined me. She looked up when we came in, clocked the room temperature instantly, and went back to her coffee. My mother walked to the window and looked at the track for a long time without saying anything. Ren has been to this suite twice before. She has never once posted about it. This is either discretion, loyalty, or a philosophical position on the relationship between real experiences and content, possibly all 3. She has never explained. Ford has never asked. At 1:15, the suite door opened. Derek Olmsted came through it the way he moves through every room. Direct line to the person he came to find. No intermediate social detours. 56 years old, EVP of operations, 30 years in the auto industry. The person who has shaken enough hands in enough rooms that he's optimized the whole process down to its essential components. He crossed the suite and shook my hand with both of his. "I've been looking for you since Thursday," he said. "CFO sent me the Q4 restructuring summary. $3.1 million. Board signed off this morning." He didn't let go of the handshake. "Senior VP of Operations. It's yours if you want it." I said I wanted it. He laughed. The short, satisfied laugh of someone whose recommendation has been validated. Then he looked past me and registered the two women standing near the window who were clearly not Meridian staff. "Family?" he said. My mother turned around. "His mother," she said. Her voice had a quality I hadn't heard in it before. Careful. Like someone stepping onto ice they're not sure about. Derek looked at her with the direct attention he gives everyone. "Your son saved this company $3.1 million this quarter." I told the CFO. He paused for the half-beat. That means what follows is a specific thing he actually said, not a paraphrase. "If Ford leaves, I leave with him." He smiled, half joking. He shook my hand once more and moved toward the window to look at the track. Derek Olmsted has made that specific statement about two people in 30 years. He said it about the previous SVP of Operations in 2019, who subsequently did not leave, and about Ford in two separate conversations this quarter. Bev is hearing it for the first time. She's holding a glass of water she picked up from the buffet table at some point and forgot she was holding. The room kept moving around us. Other guests talking, crew radio chatter coming up faintly through the glass, the crowd noise rising as the pace cars came out. My mother stood near the window and did not move for several minutes. Then she looked at car number 23 on the track below. At the Meridian logo on the hood, visible from here. "I didn't know," she said. "I know. I said in front of everyone that you counted pennies." "Yes." She was quiet. I looked at the track. Car number 23 running its warm-up lap, the logo rotating in and out of view on the straightaway. "It's 5 billion pennies a year, Mom." This is the closest Ford Rayner has come to saying "suckers" out loud in a professional setting. He has considered this moment a personal best ever since. She didn't answer. She just stood there watching the car go around. Paige had been moving through the suite for the past 20 minutes. I'd been aware of her without tracking her. The peripheral awareness of someone you grew up with. The sense of where they are in a room without looking directly. She'd spent time at the buffet, time at the bar, time in a conversation with one of the Meridian regional managers that seemed to be going fine until it clearly stopped going fine, and then she'd drifted toward the back wall, where the display panel was. Meridian runs a hospitality display at every sponsored event. Photos from the current season's activation campaigns, metrics on the sponsorship performance, a section on the lifestyle creator program we'd launched in Q2. 4 framed photos of the selected influencers, small text blocks with their campaign performance numbers below each one. At coast.created, at ridgeline.ren, at motorlife.k, at sunday.circuit. At the bottom of the panel, in the smaller font used for program footnotes, selection based on third-party metric verification. 3 of 7 applicants did not meet current engagement authenticity standards. Paige stood in front of that panel for a long time. She didn't see her name anywhere on it. She didn't need to. She found me about 10 minutes later, when my mother had moved to get food. "This is your company," she said. Not loud, controlled. "Yep." "The campaign in July, that was Meridian." "Yeah," she looked at me. "You rejected me." "I recused myself the same day I saw your name on the shortlist, documented through HR compliance. Kelsey ran the audit and made the call. My name isn't on the decision." She absorbed that. "The audit. Third-party platform. 0.3% engagement. 81% suspicious accounts." I let that sit for a moment. "If your numbers had been real, you'd be getting paid to be here right now. You're here because I invited you." Paige looked past me at the window. At car number 23 running through the infield section, the Meridian logo catching the afternoon light. The company that rejected her application. That rejected it based on numbers she knew were not accurate and had apparently believed nobody would check. She didn't say anything. She walked back toward the buffet. My mother came to stand beside me at the window. Below us, the pace cars peeled off and the field came through turn 4. the sound coming up through the glass a half-second after the visual. 50,000 people in the grandstands doing the thing crowds do when the actual racing starts. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" she said. "You never asked." She started to say something. Stopped. "We talked every week. You asked how Paige's boutique inventory was doing. You sent me screenshots of her Instagram post to see if I thought the new layout was better. You forwarded me her Yelp page. I watched car number 23 through the glass. You never asked what I was working on." She was quiet for a long time. "I thought when you said things were fine, I was waiting for you to ask what fine meant." The car came back around, the Meridian logo again. She watched it. "How long have you been here?" she said finally. 6 years, VP for 2. A pause. "How much?" $190,000 base. Last year with bonuses came out to $247,000. She didn't say anything after that. We stood at the window and watched the race for a while. The crowd noise coming up through the glass, the cars cycling through their positions, the afternoon light on the Charlotte infield going from gold to flat as clouds moved through. My mother held her water glass and watched. "She knows now," she said eventually. "Yes," I said. "Both of us do." "Sure." The conversation at the window happened the way important conversations usually happen, quietly, without announcement, while something else was going on around us. The race had started. 50,000 people below us doing what crowds do when engines are actually running. The other Meridian guests had moved toward the glass, drinks in hand, watching the field sort itself out through the first few turns. Derek was somewhere behind us, talking to someone from the regional sales team. My mother and I stayed where we were. "We talked every week," she said. "We did. I thought I knew. You asked how Paige's boutique inventory was doing, whether the new shelf layout looked better than the old one. You sent me the Yelp page and asked if I could leave a review. I watched car number 23 come through turn 3. You never asked what I was working on." She was quiet for a moment. "When you said things were fine, I thought I was waiting for you to ask what fine meant." The car came back around. The Meridian logo on the straightaway, clear from here, the same logo that had been on the rejection email Paige received in July, and that was currently on the display panel 12 feet behind us. My mother looked at it. "How long have you been here?" she said. Not quite a question. 6 years, VP for 2. She nodded slowly. The nod of someone doing arithmetic. "How much do you?" $190,000 base. Last year with bonuses it came to $247,000. She didn't respond to that directly. She just stood there watching the race for a while, holding the water glass, and I let her. "She knows now," she said eventually. I wasn't sure if she meant Paige or herself or both. "Yes," I said. "Both of us do." We watched the race. In November, at Paige Builds, things disappeared. Not a deactivation announcement, not a final post, not a story saying she was taking a break. The account simply stopped existing on a Tuesday. I noticed it when I went to check something unrelated and the profile returned an error. 2 weeks later, a new account appeared. At Paige.Rayner. 0 followers, 0 following. Profile photo that looked like it had been taken in natural light without a ring light. First post. A coffee cup on a windowsill. Photo that takes 30 seconds and gets posted because you felt like posting something, not because you'd planned it. 12 likes. 12 likes. All of them real people. This represents, statistically, a 12,000% improvement in audience authenticity over the previous account. Progress is not always linear. Sometimes it starts with a coffee cup and 0 followers, and someone deciding to begin again from an accurate number. I double-tapped it, said nothing to anyone. The boutique closed in December. Paige didn't announce it either. She changed the website to a holding page, updated the Google listing, and that was it. The math on why was not complicated. The business had generated approximately $19,000 in revenue in its first year against $24,000 in annual loan payments. The $95,000 SBA loan and the $40,000 from our mother's retirement account had been the foundation of a business model built on a follower count that had been purchased for $114. The numbers had existed the whole time. They'd just been underneath other numbers that looked better. My mother called me the week after the closing. She didn't bring it up directly. She talked around it for about 4 minutes before landing. She won't say it, but she's lost, Bev said. Could you talk to her? You know how to read these things. She needs to ask me herself. A pause. Ford, she knows where I am, Mom. Bev made the sound that means she disagrees but is choosing not to argue. We talked for another few minutes about other things and then hung up. 7 days later, Paige called. Can you look at my financial situation? She said. No preamble. Honestly, without going easy on me. Come over Saturday. She came over Saturday. We sat at my kitchen table for 3 hours. I pulled up the loan documents, the boutique's revenue records, the retirement account statement Bev had sent me months ago when she'd first put the money in. Debt timeline. Realistic income projections. A restructuring plan that assumed no Instagram brand deals and no inflated follower counts. Just actual work, actual revenue, actual numbers. Paige sat across from me and listened. She took notes on her phone. She asked clarifying questions. She did not argue with a single figure. This was the first time Paige had asked Ford for something specific. It was also the first time Ford had anything specific to give her. Not a connection, not a word put in, not a favor. Just accurate numbers and a plan built on them. As it turns out, this is what he'd had to offer for approximately 6 years. Nobody had asked. At some point around hour 2, she put her pen down and looked at the table. I built the whole thing on fake numbers, she said. Yes. And I believed them. I didn't answer that. Some things don't need a response. We finished the session around 7. She took the spreadsheet I'd built and drove home. I made dinner and didn't think about it again until Ren asked how it went. Good, I said. Really? She listened, I said. The whole time. Didn't argue once. Ren considered that. That's new. Yes, I said. It is. The senior VP offer was formal by late March. New title, new office, new door. The placard read, Ford Rayner, Senior VP of Operations. I took a photo of it on the first morning mostly because Ren asked me to. I sent it to her. She sent back a single emoji that I won't describe, but which accurately captured the situation. 10 days later, a card arrived in the mail. Regular envelope. My mother's handwriting. The kind of stamp she picks herself from the post office display. She has opinions about stamps, always has. I recognized the handwriting before I opened it. Inside, in her cursive that hasn't changed since I was 7, I'm proud of you. I should have said it sooner. I'm sorry. That was all. No champagne, no 60 guests, no photographer moving through a crowd. Just a card in a regular envelope with a stamp she'd chosen herself, arriving 11 days after a title change she'd heard about from me in a text message. I put it on my desk next to the monitor. Beverly Rayner has sent Ford a card for every birthday for 29 years. This was the first one that mentioned his work by name. He noticed that. He did not say anything about it. He just put it next to the monitor where he could see it from his chair, which is, for Ford Rayner, the equivalent of framing it. The 2025 Daytona 500 suite allocation came through in April. Suite number 8, same as always. 8 seats this year. I went through the credential assignments the way I always do. Ren first, then the 2 Meridian regional directors who always make the trip, then 2 seats held for Derek's guests. That left 3. I filled 2 of them with names from the Charlotte event who'd asked about Daytona. The third one I typed slowly. Seat number 3, Beverly Rayner. The Daytona 500 is in February. She doesn't know yet. She'll get an email in January from the Meridian Hospitality Coordinator. Standard credential notification, Ford's name listed as the credential holder, suite number 8, 400 miles from where she told 60 people her son counted pennies for a living. She'll call me when she gets it. I'm not sure what she'll say. I'm not sure what I'll say either. But she'll have asked, finally, what this part of my life actually looks like. And I'll have something to show her. Beverly Rayner spent 6 years going to her daughter's events and telling neighbors her son worked with numbers somewhere. She was not a bad mother. She was a mother who mistook silence for contentment and assumed that someone who never complained had nothing worth asking about. Most families have at least one person like Ford, the one who shows up quietly, builds something real, and waits. The question, what are you actually working on, costs nothing. The answer, it turns out, was always worth considerably more than pennies.